Lord from the cloud.
And then, yeah, from the cloud. All right. So for anyone cutting hair, the first thing you should do is just wet your hair. Like, so I told Josh to go dunk his head in the sink. So he's gonna go do that. So if you can do that, or you have a sprayer, you can do that too. Not absolutely critical, but it helps. And while they're doing that, I'll go over sort of the stuff we have, like the materials or the tools. So I have like this hair cutting kit, and it's by Wall, and it comes with the clipper and a bunch of these guards, right? If nobody's ever used these before, these are what basically control the length of the hair, of the cut. And usually it goes from a 1 to an 8. There's usually a number right there. Oh, hi, Julia. And so 1 obviously is the shortest. Well, not obviously, but 1 is the shortest, and it goes to the big ones, an 8. We keep it the longest. But for Josh, I'm not going to, I'm going to use basically a 1. I'm going to start with a 1 on his sides and the back. And then the top, I'm going to just leave, I'm going to use scissors to cut that. So I'll show you how to do that when we get to that part. But my kit also came with a little trimmer. It's like a mini version. It's like a mini version of the clipper. And this is just used really to kind of clean up the edges. And I'll do that at the end. And so let's see, I've got the comb also. Comb. I've got the attachments and scissors. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna ask Josh, here Josh, I'm gonna remove his shirt. We normally actually don't do like you can put like an apron around him or something, but today we're not doing that. Any questions? Feel free to ask questions if you have any at this point. Let's see. So the first thing, what can I say? It's an introduction. Basically, I'm gonna fade Josh's hair on the sides and the back. I'm just gonna fade it up. And then on the top, I'm gonna leave the top longer, which pretty much would account for maybe like, I don't know, 100% of our family's hair. And most Asian haircuts that I've seen are the same. Short on the back and sides, and then a little longer on the top. So we're gonna do a 1. We're gonna start with a 1. We're gonna keep it pretty short. You can also start with no guard, which would be like a 0, I guess.
Oh, you can't move, honey.
But you can get that, if you want it that short, you can do. But the first thing, we're gonna do a 1. So you attach the 1. And
move your hand.
I'm gonna start at the bottom, basically of the sides and the back. And you're basically gonna just cut up as high as you want it. I usually go about ½ an inch above the ear. You look straight, like up to about here.
How do you move it?
And you just keep it tight to the head, the clipper. Let the clipper do the work. The guard is really what's going to control the length. So you don't have to be like, you know, fumbling around trying to get the right length. If you just put the guard close to the head, it will cut evenly around. So I'm just going to go up and basically trace a line from the side all the way around. That's what I do. I mean, and it could be like a horizontal line all the way across, or you could make it a little diagonal if you want it. If you want to keep more hair on the top of the back, you can do that. But I'm just show you. Josh, can you hold that ear?
Wait, so Eddie, so how far up are you going?
Going about half an inch above the top of his ear, but you can really go as high as you want. But so what we're going to do is basically, I'll just tell you, we're going to start with a 1. We're going to come up, and basically you're going to see a very distinct line around his entire head, where the length of the hair above it and the length that you just cut is very drastically different, right? And then I'm gonna switch the guard to a 2, which is the next successive higher clipper guard. So if you start with a 2, you go to a 3. If you start with a 3, you go to a 4, obviously. So and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna blend that. There's gonna be a line where the 1 and the 2 meet, and then you're gonna blend it, and I'll show you how to do that with the guard. And that's basically what this there's a little lever by the guard, and that is basically a half step. So.
Can you show your motion when you're going ½ inch above the ear? Like, are you just going straight up, or are you?
Sure. I mean, as you cut it, you can see, if you look at the blade, like if you look at you can see where the guard kind of tines are, and then the blade ones are. That's where it's going to cut, right? So that's the height that's the line where it will go. So I'm basically putting this edge right here clear up against his head. So I'm just pressing it in. Hold on. So it's staying close to his head, and you just go up.
Okay.
When you get to that line, when you get to that line where you want it to stop, you can kind of just feather it out from the head. I mean, the only reason to do that is because you can always cut more hair off, but if for whatever reason you happen to go higher, you can't add hair back. So here, Josh, look over here so you can see. Just going all the way up. Generally pretty fast. You said, you don't have to worry about cutting too much hair. Like you're going to make a mistake, because it's always going to cut the length of the guard. So Josh, can you hold this here? Thank you. So you can like kind of go over it. Anytime you can hear the clippers cutting. You can hear the hair getting cut. So you can just go back over and over and over again the same. I mean, it'll just make it cleaner. My clippers are not that great, so I think the better clippers probably tend to get most of the hair the first time, but.
Unsuk has done this before, it looks like.
Yes, I know he's trying.
He's good.
That's an experience. Basically, the more you do it, obviously the better you'll get. And we're like I cut my own hair. So, eventually you'll get good enough and you can do anything with it. Cut your own hair, cut whoever's hair. And then.
Are you doing this again?
What is that?
Are you going over it again with the
Just did,
one?
yeah. So here. So here's.
Wow. Looks
like
good, Joshy.
Perfect line. If you're into that look, you can call it. So let's see. So I got mine all around, all the way. Josh, look at me. Turn all the way around so they can see the back of your head too. So we just went up, up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm switching now the guard to a 2. At this point, I kind of like, I want to define where the part is on the top. So, and this can vary, you know, some people want their part higher up or lower or whatever, but define that. And then so there's like a clear line, right? So what hair is going to stay and what hair is going to go, it's very clear at this point. So the hair that's basically, so you can see, hey Josh, look down. Yeah, there you go. You try to make that obviously as straight as possible. And okay, so here's his. And then you use water helps. So if you look straight, so here's something now to keep in mind. This is like where people can mess up or get disappointed in what the end result will look like. But basically, if you think of the head as like an egg, like the shape of an egg, right? Some people want the side of their hair to just kind of go like a, you know, not like a flat top, like they just want it straight up. So at that point, you'll want to, if you look at this edge of the clipper right here, see the this part, that's going to define your edge, or like, so if I wanted it to go straight up, I would hug his head and try to go vertically as possible, as much as possible, right? And I would come up. So I'll show you. I got a 2, I put the 2 on. I should make a statement too about the lever on the side. So make sure the lever, so the way the lever works is like, if you watch the blade at the top, see if I pull it, see how it goes up? The up is a half step. So I haven't used that yet, so I'm still at the lower, it's at its lower position, right? So I started on a 1 with the lever at the lower position, so it's not a 1.5, it's a 1. And you want to make sure that that's still at its low position when you're using the 2, right? So you go from 1 to 2, and then what's going to blend the intersection of the 1 and 2 is when you put the 1 back and you turn the lever a half step, and it's basically 1.5. So, but let me go back to the side and show you what I meant by, so if it's hugging the side of his head, and I go straight up, see, I'm not hugging it all the way around, sort of the top curve of the egg. I will eventually, but I'm saying if I don't want that, I'll just go, I'll make sure from the bottom that it's tight to his head, but then I'll just cut up, and you see how I'm not going all the way, or I'm not hugging the contour of his head. So I don't want to cut, like if I want it more boxy, I guess you could say you want it, you do that. You hug it at the lower part of the egg, and then when you get to the higher part of the egg, you just kind of keep going up with the clippers without hugging the head. So when I cut Josh's hair, I don't do that. I don't leave it boxy, just because. So here, let me just show you. So like, I just did the side real quick. I mean, here, I'll go all the way. You can keep going over that. Keep doing it boxy all the way around here, just so. Okay, so when you get to the side where the hair lays down where the part is, now depending how you want this, so generally I pull the hair that's on top all the way back, so you can, and draw another line so you can see where the side meets the top. So I'll just do it. I'll just wet it and comb it back. And we'll define another, took to the side that way, Josh? There we go. And we'll define another line here, basically, where the side transitions to the top. I'm less concerned about this side because generally when the hair goes over, you won't see it. But here, look to that side. I'm gonna cut. Yeah. Again, this is the 2. Okay. So I'm just gonna comb all of this top hair forward to get it out of the way.
Hey, Eddie.
Yeah?
For the back, do you do 2 all the way in the back as well, or are you leaving the part where you're parting?
No, so yeah, so the same thing. I mean, it's the 1. I went a 1 all the way up to that line right here, right? Where I'm pointing. And then up to here, I just went straight up because I just wanted to show people, like, if you wanted to leave more on top, because it gets weird when you start cutting it around and then you leave hair on top, and it can look like a pineapple. Like if you want it more boxy, you want to leave more hair like around the top, around where the sides and back will transition into the top part of the curve. Does that make sense? So what I did, I just did the same thing on the back. Like I'll clean that up, but like I took the 2 and I went up and I went, hold on, stay like that, Josh, and went up like this. I could have cut it this way, which I'm going to. I just wanted to show you that way, in case, because some people don't want to cut hair all the way up past sort of where the head starts to curve up. But I just wanted to show you. So but I just want to show you this part on the sides and the back. So you can see where the 1, here's the 1, the line where the 1 and the 2 meet, right? And it will leave a distinct line there. Look this way, Josh, see? You can see it. You can see this little flap. And that's where, now this is where you'll blend. And so you take it back to a 1, put the 1 guard on. And then this is where this lever sort of is key, where you turn it. So you're now like 1.5. So that is what's going to basically erase the line in Josh's head between the 1 and 2. And you can you'll pass it across where that line is, and you'll hear it cut. And you just need to go past the line, right? As far as how high up to go. You'll hear it cutting. If you want, you can take it higher. But it's up to you if you want it, if you're not happy with, how long it is, or where you started your, how high up you went on your 1 originally. So you can take it up higher if you want with the 1.5, but this will just remove that line where it's, and blend the 1 and the 2. So if you look, so you can see so this area is pretty much blended, but this you can see because my line went originally down like that. Keep looking that way, Josh. And then, okay. I'm just gonna keep cutting that area. You go all the way around. And this is, you want to keep this tight to the head around where that line was. And that'll erase the line. And let's go this way. No, I don't need the comb yet. So, so that's pretty much how you blend. You can see, like, where you had that little ridge before, it's all kind of cleaned up. I'm going to real quick because I don't normally, I take the two all the way up to the part line with them. So I'm just going to actually go back. I don't like it. Well, we don't like it boxy. So I'm going to take the two and go back over all the way up. So which means I'm kind of hugging it. I'm hugging the two all the way around the head till it meets sort of the part line that we defined earlier. So it'll go all the way up. A lot of hair will be coming off.
You got like right here. You got like right here.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I'm not ready with the top yet, but I will get there. Hold on. So same deal, I'll just go over it multiple times. Let the guard do the work. Josh, try to look straight here.
This is higher than like what Matthew or Steven's hair looks like, right?
Probably, yeah. Like, so if you want to go higher, sometimes you might have to do like the same principle as the 1 and 2. You can use like a 3 up higher, and you could blend. You could go, let's say you wanted to go 1, 2, and 3. You could blend a 2 to a 3 in the same way, right? So if like you could go, for example, like 1 and then 2, and then let's say up here was a 3. You could just do the same sort of thing we did with the 1 and 2, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go back, because I did that, I'm going to go back really quick with the 1.5 and reblend some areas. Because I went higher on the 2 just now. So it's good to keep in mind, like you're starting out, you don't know, you can experiment. Like you could start with a 2 or a 3, and then if you want it shorter, you can always go to a 1. You can always take more hair off, put it back on. But it will grow back if you mess up, so.
Good idea.
Yes. Now is the time to be experimenting. You don't have to go anywhere, right? Okay, so Josh. So here's basically the side. And his other side, look that way. And then the back, look all the way to me. So we basically went 1, and then 2 all the way up to here. And now that's left is the top, see? Just brush them off. All right, now I'm gonna cut the top. I'm gonna wet it again. And the way to think of this, I'm gonna use scissors, okay? So the way to think of this is cutting it in rows or sections. Like here's a section, like from front to back, like in like strips. So here's a section, here's a section, here's a section, like that, right? So what I'm gonna do, like let's say I wanna take off like an inch or whatever, however long you want to take it off. Like I'll grab a section of hair at the part with the comb in between, just, it doesn't have to be perfect, just a chunk, and put it in between my fingers, my first 2 fingers. And I'll start off. So I just cut it across. You're gonna use, that's gonna essentially, that first row will be your guide for the next one next to it. So the next row of hair next to it, I'll show you. So I'll keep going back. So I'm going back in that first row. Cut them off. Go back again. Cut my inch.
Eddie, are you cutting the same length from front to back?
Yeah, about an inch. So I took about however much you want. So now this section right here, this little stripe between my fingers is what I cut. So now I'm gonna grab hair where the next row over, and I'm gonna grab hair from both. And if you grab hair from both, you can see where I cut, and you can see the hair that I didn't cut. There's a different length, right? So that's gonna be my guide for the next row. So grab that hair, you can see. Now, even. And then you'll go all the way back and it'll be the same sort of deal, right? And so you go all the way back. And then go to the next row over. And all the way back. So I basically now evened it out and took about an inch off of everything, 1.5 inches for Josh, roughly. So it's all shorter.
Dad, can you go
Yeah, so Josh is asking to get rid of this. So if you look, this is now, you'll probably have to do some triage here on this side where the heart goes over. I usually like to blend that, and so sometimes that's okay. If some kids or whatever, like Joseph likes, some kids want to comb it back, right? So if you imagine if they had whatever in their hair or something, and then if you watch, if you start combing the hair back, you'll see on the side kind of where that starts to hang over like that. You can see right here. And generally, I'll comb it back and then get my scissors again and start cutting the hairs that hang over. If you don't want hair. Same deal, I'll grab it in between my fingers and just cut it off. And then just know that the shorter the side hairs get, the harder they are to comb back, right? Because they'll just pop out. So I'll comb the hair back sometimes, and you can see again it's hanging. And sometimes I'll just go straight over like this with scissors and just cut it off where it's hanging. Kind of makes an easy guide. That's one way to sort of even it out. Another way with clippers, I'll show you another way. You get the long hair out of the way, you can see hair, again, see that hair sticking out over the side. Sometimes you don't want that. I'll take my clippers, I'll put on a 2. You probably, I mean, 2 or a 1, but I'd say start with a 2 because change it later, but instead of cutting up, I'll flip it around and cut down. Sometimes that gets hair that's like sticking over the edge like that. Just kind of trims it off. You won't hear much cutting with, like, if you like using these lengths. So like not much is getting cut off except the really long ones. So you can go to a 1, but be careful when you're doing this sort of inverted thing with the 1. Just because you can cut more hair easily than you think you might be cutting. I am kind of holding it off of his head a little. And you can start hearing it and seeing hair get cut off. You can always push it closer to the head and it'll kind of take some more hair off. That's sort of experimental. I'd say play with that. And then you just cut it and look at it, right? So we still got hair here. That you not like that, Josh? Do you want to cut that off?
I want to cut that part. Like, it goes.
The hanging part?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of hanging, so let's cut it. Same thing, I'm just grabbing scissors, and I'm gonna just start chopping it off.
So yeah, how do you get the bangs?
The bangs? So you can do this, look. You can comb it down, look, straight down. Yes, I'm gonna cut your bangs shorter. You can see where they're longer. Just cut them straight down, comb it straight down.
Yeah.
And then clip it, and then clip it to length. Make sure it's wet though, right? I would do this. I would just do the same thing I was doing before. Mm-hmm. And clip it. Try to even it out.
But how do you prevent it from looking like a bowl?
You make sure it's wet. And if it gets really, because then look, and then if it gets really kind of like a bowl,
yeah,
you can do this. Instead of cutting horizontally like this, cut like this vertically and like this. kind of like, you know what I mean? So some hairs get cut. Like I'll do it to Josh here. Comb it down.
Can you come?
Yes. You want it shorter?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
You do this?
And I don't want to.
All right, he's done. I'll try some of those techniques later.
Here you go. Here you go.
I'll remember that for next.
Do that. It's like almost like imagining cutting like every other hair.
How about if I use the thinning shears? Does that work or no?
You can do that too. But it'll just thin it out. It won't cut it won't mess with the length.
Oh, you want to make a different.
I
Right?
like it like this.
You like it like this?
Yeah.
So that's the last part. What I do is I take the little trimmer, and I'll just clean up the edge. So this is just straight, like sometimes like shavers have this thing. You can define a line.
Is that straight?
I think that should be on one.
It just cleans up like that. And you can make it.
Joshy, does that hurt? How come you said ow?
Does it?
Kind of does. But it's
It's
not.
because I'm ramming it into his neck.
So is that a 1?
No,
No.
this is just there's no
nothing.
guard on this
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Like sometimes like shavers, like men's shavers have these little attachments, almost like the grooming tool. I just use Joshua Moon, hold on. And line that. Yeah. So that cleans up. Wait, look to the side. To the back. Right here and here. So all the way back. Let them see the back of your head. And then, okay, now look straight. And that's it.
Wow, looks great, Joshy.
Thanks.
Josh, you do look good. Thanks, Eddie.
Any questions?
What if it goes wrong? Very wrong.
Just wait 2 weeks and try again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Usually gets a 1. He goes from a 1 to a 5. So how do you fade that? Do you have to go through 1, 2, 3, or do you do like 1, 3, 5 when it's that much of a difference?
Oh, so going from a 1 to a 5, you mean? You can go through all of them, or you can start like at a 3, 4, 5. But what's going to happen is the side of your hair, right? The side of your head will look more like this, right? It just gets more, because like up here it's like a 5, if you right, and then down here, right? I mean, you can.
Thank you, Miss Eddie.
Miss Eddie, thank you.
You're welcome, Khaled. Looks good.
Hey, Eddie, I have a question. So I cut Arden's here, and I forgot I took the guard off. So I made it thinner here by accident. So is your suggestion for me to just take it on a lower guard and clean it through?
So you cut. So are you saying on the side right here, it's shorter? That's a lot shorter.
There's like one line that's like shorter because I forgot I took the guard off.
You took the guard off? Yeah, what I would say when I do that, because I do that, I basically cut it shorter all the way around, and then fade it all the way up. So it'll look more. It's just not one spot that's blended, because you'll see it will look weird. Like I think you go as high up as you went. You just trace that all the way back and go that short everywhere around.
Got it.
I mean, if you want it, I think that'd be the best way to blend it. I mean, or you just sort of live with it and let it grow back. But if you want to, I think you, like when you mess up like that, I just kind of go shorter everywhere. That's,
Got it.
I mean, that's how that, yeah, sure.
We should all send before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Good job, Joshi.
All right, thanks, Eddie.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, he recorded it. So watch later.
Thank you, Eddie, so much. So
Hey, Terry,
I'm gonna
thanks.
stop the recording now.
Okay, sounds good.